that to the Who Dat Nation. Welcome to the Dome Patrol podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. I am your fellow Who Dat, Kevin Reed, and it's been a while here. It's been a while since we've talked New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network, but I'm back. And God knows, in every fiber of my being, I was trying to avoid talking about the New Orleans Saints for at least the next couple of months. You know, last season, well, let's be honest, for the last couple of seasons, have not been excited about the Saints, have not had anything positive to say about the New Orleans Saints, to whereas I would be super excited to come on here and talk. Well, today's no different. Today is not a day of joy and excitement, looking at this organization. This is arguably the worst ran franchise in sports. I'm not even going to relegate it to the NFL. In sports, this is a joke, man. It's a clear clown show of an organization. How can this team consider themselves a professional franchise with some of the buffoonery that takes place over on our line? This is a clown show, honest to God, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be a Saints fan at this point in time. Nothing excites you. Nothing gets you hyped up. Nothing indicates that there's clear communication between the owner and the general manager and the coaches and the players. It's like everybody is just doing their own thing, and it's ridiculous. It is really ridiculous. And it's like beating on a dead horse here, shooting the blame at Mickey Loomis. Mickey Loomis is who Mickey Loomis is. Everybody knows, at least here in the Who Dat Nation, everybody knows that this man can't manage a target, but he is the general manager of this franchise. He is doing a piss poor job at being a general manager. And all I can think about is the fact that it was all Sean Payton. Sean Payton had this team credible. Sean Payton had this team being talked about amongst the elite teams of the NFL over his 16 years here in the organization. And you can't help but think that way, because ever since the man left, it is night and day. I mean, night and day. Nothing has gone right. Not one decision made since the exit of Sean Payton has been the right decision, from the coach, from the quarterbacks, from the free agent signings, from the draft picks. Nothing has worked. But we get to 2025 and it's the same old thing. They get up there and act like, oh, we got it together. We're going to run it back. We're going to re-sign these same players who has given us 5-12 records. And like, okay, we got it. We're just a piece away. No, you're not a piece away. You're not a player away. This team needs to blow up. And if there was any time to blow up this team and rebuild, this was the time. This offseason. Dump these bad contracts, build up your roster with young, fresh players, get a coach in. And none of this show is going to be directing any slander towards Kellen Moore, because Kellen Moore just got here. Kellen Moore is a innocent bystander right now. And so I have nothing bad to say about Kellen Moore currently. So he's off the hook, but everybody else in this franchise isn't. But you bring in a coach who has some pedigree. You know, he's fresh off of a Super Bowl, being the offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. Fresh off of a Super Bowl. His previous stops in Dallas and in Los Angeles were pretty successful as an offensive coordinator. So the ceiling is pretty high for him. You know, the sky's the limit. And it's encouraging, but at the same time discouraging, because does he have the talent that he had in Dallas, that he had at the Chargers, that he had in Philly? No, no, not at all. And so I'm not expecting him to turn this around with the roster that we have right now, and especially with Derek Carr at quarterback. But as the world turns, that looks like it's going to be uh that may not be in play this season, and good, because I don't like Derek Carr. There's no other way to put it. I can't sauce it up. I can't put a nice shiny bow on it. I can't put lipstick on this pig. I don't like Derek Carr. I tried when he first signed. I really did. I thought that he was going to be a difference maker. Never in a million years did I ever equate Derek Carr up there with Drew Brees. I never thought that he was going to be that type of free agent signing for the New Orleans Saints. But I thought at the very least he could be the best quarterback in this division in the NFC South. I mean, think about it. Look at the quarterbacks around the NFC South when he signed. You had Baker Mayfield in Tampa. You had Bryce Young in Carolina, and who was the quarterback for the Atlanta when he came? Was it Desmond Ritter? Either way, you would think he was the better out of those four, but no. Okay, we get to the second year here, and you still feel that he was the better quarterback. Baker Mayfield still in Tampa, Bryce Young still in Carolina, and you had Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. I never was a Kirk Cousins guy. I never understood the allure with Kirk Cousins, and you see the results of that, and it was proven true. But even with that, Derek Carr is still not the best. You can make an argument, and I would agree, he is the fourth best quarterback in this division, and there's only four teams in this division. And that's with a Bryce Young being benched throughout the season. Bryce Young is still better than him. Kirk Cousins is still better than him, and he got benched halfway through the season for a Michael Penix, and Michael Penix is better than him. It is embarrassing. And this dude, and we're gonna go through it. We're gonna go through what all took place so far this off season. I know the draft is coming up. The draft will be here next week. And so with all that transpiring, I figured, you know what? Now's a good time to talk about the New Orleans Saints, this off season turmoil, this drama that's going on, especially the drama between Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints. And this isn't a structured breakdown analysis of the offseason for the Saints. I just wanted to get some things off my chest in regards to what's currently going on and where the Saints should go, and are they going to try to, I don't know, right this wrong? Or are they going to continue to waddle in this mess that they created? Nobody to blame here but the New Orleans Saints, but Mickey Loomis, because there were really some boneheaded decisions that were made this offseason that just made a bad situation worse, and I really don't know how they're going to right this wrong. But we all know, to start off this offseason, the New Orleans Saints hired Kellen Moore after the Super Bowl to be the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Kellen Moore, as I was stating earlier, I'm somewhat excited about it. I'm excited in the sense of what he can bring as far as a new system, a new style of offense. I'm excited for that because we've been stuck in the same rut for years, even with Kingsbury or Kubiak, Clint Kubiak, when he came here with his offense. And I'm not mad at Clint Kubiak. A lot of things happened to that dude. I mean, nobody could account for all of those injuries that happened last season. The whole offensive line got hurt. Your quarterback got hurt. Your running back, Alvin Kamara was healthy, but your wide receivers got hurt. It was just a murderous row of injuries that took place last season that threw off everything. But at the same time, Kubiak, he don't know how to adjust. He didn't adjust. He was still trying to do the same thing, even though the talent level was not the same. Your star players were out, but you were still calling the game like you had star players in the game. And that's why the Saints looked like they looked offensively. They couldn't get anything going. But anywho's, Kellen Moore's coming in. He's going to I tell you this much. He built a staff, a pretty decent staff. This is what got me excited a little bit. Not so much at offensive coordinator, Doug Nussmeier. I'm not super excited about that, but we'll see how that go. But at defensive coordinator, he brought in Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley is an awesome defensive coach, and I'm curious to see how he does this because I think he runs a 3-4 defense, and so it's a different style of defense for certain. Now, it wasn't like our defense was horrible. It was bad, but it wasn't horrible. For all of the hate that that we give to Dennis Allen, and some of it is due. You can't complain about his defense. His defensive play calling, his defense was one of the best in the league. So I give him that, but he just sucks as a head coach. Bringing him in is a big plus as far as our defense is concerned. So I'm excited about this staff to see how can they change things up. Will this benefit somebody like a Demario Davis in this style of defense? Will this benefit a Brian Brucey, in this style of defense? So let's see. It's the waiting game there. So I'm a little excited about that. Now, speaking of players and how this staff will benefit, this is where the bonehead stuff really starts to come into play for me. I did not understand this free agent period for the New Orleans Saints. Number one, the Saints started off in the red like we always do. I think we were 68 million over the cap to start off. That is astronomical. But after a few restructurings and some cutting of players and whatnot, the Saints freed up a lot of cap space, and they were able to make some signings. Now, with that being done, a lot of players had to leave. Number one, and the one that just I think is going to come back and burn the Saints. I know is going to come back and burn the Saints. And it was cornerback Paulson Adebo. He went to the New York Giants. They let him walk out the door. That was arguably your best remaining cornerback. You traded Marshawn Lattimore last season to the Commanders, which in a move that I wasn't mad at, I understood, but at the same time, Marshawn Lattimore is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. I mean, a generational quarterback, not quarterback, cornerback in the league. So why did you, I was cool with it because you had cornerbacks that were young and you was moving on to this young crop of cornerbacks that you have, and being led by Paulson Adebo. That's in my mind. But you let him walk out the door. The Giants signed him for a 3-year, $54 million contract. Could the Saints match that? I don't know. But in my mind, I think they could have. And I don't think you would have had to pay that much for him to stay. I honestly don't. But he's gone. Safety. They re-signed the safety. What's his name? Uge Amani, for a 1-year, $1 million deal. They Willie Gay, he's gone. He went to the Dolphins. You had Will Harris, he's gone. He went to the Commanders. And Will Harris, safety, he was a good safety. He was actually one of the shining lights back there in the secondary last season. He's gone. 2 years, $8 million, going to the Commanders. He's reteaming with Marshawn Lattimore over there. It didn't make sense. And another cornerback, Shamar John Charles, gone. Went to Seattle. 1 year, $1 million. You couldn't keep him? No, he wasn't a lockdown, shutdown cornerback, but he was good. He was decent. He was serviceable. Gone. So your whole cornerback, all your cornerbacks, well, most of your cornerbacks are gone. Now, this is where it gets crazy to me. It wasn't the money, because there was no reason why the money should have been an issue, because you laid up there and you paid Juwan Johnson, the tight end. You paid him 3 years, $3 million, $30 million, I should say, $10 million a year for Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson could have gone. He could go. And I'm not one of the haters of Juwan Johnson, but he's nobody that I would have broke the bank for. Not $10 million a year. You're not going to sit here and tell me Juwan Johnson is worth $10 million a year. No. That was a waste of money. I'm sorry. And that's with him going out next season and, I don't know, catching 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, and I'm still going to repeat that he's not worth $10 million a year. Because number one, I know he's not going to do that. He is not that dude. He's not that dude. Let's be real. They re-signed Dante Pennis to a 1-year, $1 million contract. Like, that was something special. Lucas Pactors, you let him go. The guard, our offensive lineman. And this is coming off of a year where we were losing offensive linemen like I was changing a pair of drawers every day. I mean, you was just bleeding out offensive linemen. You let him go. He's gone. Peyton Turner, he's gone. Peyton Turner went to the Dallas Cowboys for, I think, $3 million, a 1-year deal. Okay. I mean, Peyton Turner, frustrating because he stayed hurt. But when he was healthy, he was very productive. I think you could have held on to him for another year. $3 million. You could have held on to him. I think he's a good player. I don't think he was coached right. Me personally, I would love to see him in this 3-4 defense. But the gut punch to me was Marquez Vantez-Scantling, wide receiver, who they signed in the middle of last season due to the fact we were decimated at the wide receiver position. He came in and just balled out for the Saints. Gone. Went to the Seattle Seahawks, 1 year, $4 million. You mean to tell me the Saints couldn't do that, but you can pay Juwan Johnson $10 million? Bruh. What are we doing? You re-signed Chase Young to a 3-year, $51 million contract. You outbid it yourself. You overpaid. Nobody was looking at no Chase Young. Nobody was going to get Chase Young for that money. They overbid it. They outpriced themselves for a Chase Young. Not mad at Chase Young, but did we need Chase Young? No, no, we did. If I had a choice between Chase Young and Peyton Turner, I probably would have picked Peyton Turner, and that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. But whatever. So that's what you let walk in and out the door. What you brought in, what you brought in, didn't encourage me at all. You brought in Justin Reed. Now, God bless him. Justin Reed, a LSU Tiger, coming back home. No relation. Unfortunately, I wish he was my little cuz. I could have probably hit him up for some of that $31 million that he signed for. 3 years, $31 million, nonetheless. But you had Will Harris here. I mean, they the same player. They're the exact same player. I don't know why I don't know. I just, that didn't make sense to me. But fine, whatever. You brought in Will Clapp from Buffalo. Will Clapp, another LSU Tiger. I guess they just, I guess they, I guess they're just trying to get the LSU alumni back here in the New Orleans Saints. I don't know. But they signed him to a 1 year, $1 million contract. They signed Jack Stahl, tight end, to a 1 year, $1 million contract. They signed cornerback Isaac Yelton to a 3 year, $9 million contract. Now, Isaac Yelton, he was here before. He went to the 49ers for a couple of years, and now he's back. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just confused by that one as well. They signed Jonah Williams, defensive end, to a 1 year, $1 million contract. And then they brought back Brandon Cooks for a 2 year, $13 million contract. That was a move that I honestly, they could have kept. And I love Brandon Cooks back in the day, but that was back in the day. I'm not 100% certain that Brandon Cooks will bring anything to the table. Now, I'm pretty sure that signing was because of the Kellen Moore factor. You know, he's been in Kellen Moore's system when he was at Dallas, so maybe it's more of a familiarity thing. But I still wouldn't have messed with no Brandon Cooks. And you let Van Scantling walk out the door. That's still upsetting to me. The Saints traded for defensive tackle Devon Gotrell, another LSU guy. They traded away, I think, a 7th round pick in next year's draft for him. He's a decent defensive tackle. I wasn't mad at that, but my God, man, it just, what was the point? Did any of those that I just named, did any of those moves excite you for next season? No, it's the same team. It's basically the same team. No player that I named felt like a game changer, felt like something that is a step in the right direction. It felt like a lateral move. That brings us to the upcoming draft. Up in the draft, this is a huge, big decision. I'm not going to give predictions on what we could get. I'll touch in on that in a little while, because a topic that we're going to discuss affects the draft. But in the draft, here's our picks. We have a good number of picks this year. Starting with the first round, we have the 9th overall pick. We have the 40th pick, the 71st pick, 93rd pick, 112th pick, 131st pick, 147th pick, 184th pick, pick 223, pick 248, pick 254. And so the Saints have a grand total of 11 picks in the 7 rounds of this draft. 11. You can build off of that. The mindset of building in the draft, this is it. This is the draft where you build, but you have to hit. You have to hit. something that the New Orleans Saints have not done in recent years. We have not hit in the draft. A couple of pieces, but nothing that have been franchise changing players. Yeah, they hit with Brian Bursey, in my humble opinion. He's a really good player. Uh, they hit with Chris Olave in a sense, but he has concussion issues, and I don't think he truly wants to be here anymore because of the Derek Carr factor. But that may change. Like I said, we'll talk about that in a little while. And that's about it. There's nothing else in the draft that I can really point at. I mean, in recent years, that I would say, okay, those were good picks. Every other pick has crashed and burned. Um, Isaac Forsky comes to mind, just as an example. But the Saints, the Saints really need to get the best player available. Stop picking. Stop doing these projects. Stop drafting out of Kevin Reed Community College, and like, oh, he's raw, but we'll work with him. No, man, we don't have time to work with nobody. We really don't. We don't have time for that. And I know in the past, we didn't have the coaches to actually teach players. That was the problem. There was no development there. If you came to the New Orleans Saints at level 7, you're going to be at level 7 until you leave the New Orleans Saints. Prime example, Zach Braun. Zach Braun came to the New Orleans Saints at a 3, and they kept him at a 3. Actually, they bumped him down to like a 6 because they had him on special teams and everything. Never used him properly. What happened? He walks out the door. He goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was a Defensive Player of the Year finalist. Made plays in the Super Bowl. Made it a interception in the Super Bowl. He was a factor in their Super Bowl victory throughout the year. He bumped up to a 1, leaving the Saints. Trey Henderson. Trey Henderson was a 4 here in the New Orleans Saints. Why? Because they had him on the bench. Come in every now and then. When he came in, he was an impact player, but put him right back on the bench. Did nothing. Excelled at nothing. He goes to the Cincinnati Bengals, leads the league in sacks every single season since he left the New Orleans Saints. The Saints don't develop nobody. And that was the problem. And it was mainly because of that staff, that coaching staff that the New Orleans Saints had previously. Hopefully with this staff, it will be different. And so I'm hoping that the draft goes the way the Saints need it to go. Players fall to where they need them to fall, and they pick him. Don't pass up on players, i.e. Jordan Love, i.e. Lamar Jackson, i.e., the list goes on and on. The Saints passed up on so many players to draft a center or a guard that didn't quite pan out, and only to change their positions once they get here anyway. You draft a center to put him at guard, and you draft a guard to put him at center. You draft a left tackle to play him at right tackle, and it's just, you tell me. You tell me that this isn't boneheaded mindset that's going on over there. It is mind-boggling. But in any event, let's get into the main event. Let's get to what we all came here for. Let's talk about your starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, Derek Carr. Just to reiterate, don't like Derek Carr. I don't like Derek Carr as a player, and I don't like him as a person. I did have a smidget of respect for him as a man. That's pretty much gone now. That's almost out. That tank is almost empty with me because I have zero respect for him as a human being. The dude is just trash. He's trash on the field, and he's trash as a teammate and as a person, because the stuff he does is selfish, is inconsiderate, and he doesn't care. He doesn't take responsibility. I think back to years of greatness we had with Drew Brees. That's why when we had him, we should have been appreciating him more. And I'm pointing to myself too. I remember to the last 2 years that Drew Brees was here, I was ready for him to go. I really was. I was like, man, it's over for Drew. He needs to go. And I never gave this dude the proper respect. 50% Drew Brees is 10 times greater than a 100% Derek Carr. And I did not appreciate Drew Brees for what he was. Drew Brees will go out there and have the greatest game of his life. He'll be like 18 for 24, 317 yards and 4 touchdowns in a loss, and get on the podium and take all the blame. I put that all on me. He'll bring up those 5 incompletions that he had. Oh, I could have thrown it better here, or did this or did that. That's the player. Now he probably get in the locker room and go off on everybody, but that was behind closed doors. But he took, when it came to being in front of a microphone or a reporter or whatever the case may be, he took the blame. That's leadership. That's leadership. Not Derek Carr. He'll throw 3 picks in a game and point the finger at every receiver he was throwing to, or attempt, I guess, that was in the vicinity. Oh, he ran the wrong route. You remember when he got into it with Cesar Ruiz, I think that was, and Cesar Ruiz was about to kill him right there on the field. He didn't take responsibility for that. He's pointing blame at them. He points blame at everybody, and he pretty much was the embodiment of Dennis Allen, because Dennis Allen was the same way, never took responsibility. But I can't stand Derek Carr. But we all know Derek Carr got hurt midway through the season, or in the latter half of the season last year, when he just jumped in the air like a buffoon for no reason whatsoever when we were playing the New York Giants, and landed on his hand or shoulder or whatever it was, and broke his hand or whatever, and he was out. So that was the last play we saw Derek Carr have as a New Orleans Saint thus far. So he's out for the remainder of the season. And so we get to this off season here, and this is where, for me, my mind was pretty much done with Carr, because I was of the frame of mind, like, if they are going to do something moving forward, now's the time to cut bait with Carr. Let him go. Yeah, it's going to be a cap hit. I get it. But fine. Just let him go. Just let him go. We have Spencer Rattler. We have Jake Haener. Let's go ahead on, put them out there this season and hope for the best. I wasn't looking for us to do anything this season. I'm still not. I'm not looking for the New Orleans Saints to do anything productive this season. And so let's put him out there. Let's cut bait with him and some other players as well. Some players that are fan favorites that I'm a fan of, like Demario Davis. I love Demario Davis, but if we can move on and get younger and develop a linebacker, now's the time to do it. Let's get rid of these contracts. Cam Jordan, let's get rid of them. Putting in some younger players and develop them. I'm cool with it. Those are the examples that I'm talking about. That's what I mean by blowing up the team. Getting rid of these contracts. That way we can have some fresh starts next offseason when we're better structured. Our new head coach is better acclimated with the team. Let's go. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense in my mind. Maybe not to you. Definitely not to Mickey Loomis. But no, what did the New Orleans Saints do? They restructured his contract. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because let's not forget that Derek Carr was asked about taking a pay cut. And Derek Carr said, no, I'm not taking a pay cut. Now, I fully understand, and this is me who don't like Derek Carr, but I fully understand why he said no. because shoe on the other foot, I'ma say no. No, I'm not taking a pay cut. No, indeed, no. I want all my money. As you should. You signed the contract as you should. But this is where I kind of like scratched my head and was like, are you serious? You really made that statement? This dude said, why would I take a pay cut? Look at my tape. Look at the film. Do you really want to look at the film? If you want to look at the film, you owe the Saints money. If that's what you want, if that's the example you want to use, boy, you is trash. You is hot garbage. You is a one-trick pony. Derek Carr got one thing in his arsenal, and that is the deep throw to Rashid Shaheed. When Shaheed went out with that broken leg or whatever, that was it for Derek Carr. Derek Carr had nothing else to offer at quarterback. Nothing. So, what you mean look at the tape? But they asked him, okay, well, will you be willing to restructure? Derek Carr, in his words, yes, I will restructure if it would help the team. That's a direct quote. So all is well in the world. He signed his extension, or his not extension, his restructuring, and all right, we off and running. Saints restructure. We fast forward. We fast forward to a couple of weeks ago, and it seems like Derek Carr is singing a different tune. It seems like he has a different energy he's bringing to the table here. And people around the NFL believe Derek Carr has been trying to get out of New Orleans. And the New Orleans Saints restructured his contract. Restructuring his contract was something he wished they didn't do, but they did it anyway. Okay, now you say that you're on record saying that you were willing to restructure. So when the Saints restructured, now you mad and wish they hadn't done it. I've been saying since the beginning of this offseason that the Derek Carr debacle was heading towards some shaky ground. Let's go all the way back to when the Saints were in the head coach hiring process. A lot of head coaches, I believe, did not want to mess with the New Orleans Saints because of the quarterback situation. One in particular was Kellen Moore. If you remember, Kellen Moore was the early on, not odds on favorite, but he was highly considered kind of late in the process. But Kellen Moore wasn't too keen with coming to the Saints, and it was reported. Now, I don't know if this was accurate or if it was a rumor, but Kellen Moore didn't want to interview with the Saints because of the quarterback room. That was a report that I read. And so I don't know what changed, later in the process. Maybe it was like, well, no other team is vying for my services or whatever. So maybe he went on ahead and went with the Saints then. But that was a report I remember reading. So you have that. You have the Super Bowl week. You remember everybody was down here in New Orleans for the Super Bowl. Everybody. I mean, Jameis Winston, you would have thought Jameis Winston was the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, as out there as he was, He was really out there. You saw Spencer Rattler out there amongst the people. You even saw Jake Haynard out there, during Super Bowl week. That's fine. That's cool. You're representing the team. You had other players from the team, Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, all of them were out there putting themselves out there because it was the Super Bowl here in New Orleans. You want to represent in some shape, form, or fashion. Would have been nice to have been playing in that game, but that's neither here nor there. You know who you didn't see? Derek Carr. You didn't see Derek Carr at all. He wasn't in New Orleans. He was nowhere near the city during the Super Bowl. Cool, whatever. A couple of days after the Super Bowl, the Saints hired Kellen Moore. All right. You had a few players come out and said, okay, excited for him and this, that, and the third. Can't wait to work with him. This, that, and the third. You know who you haven't heard a word from still to this day? Derek Carr. I mean, a tweet, an Instagram post, flipping pigeons, smoke signals, something to indicate that you're excited or you're open to this new head coach of your team. You've heard nothing from Derek Carr. Mardi Gras. You saw Jameis Winston. I saw Cam Jordan out there in parades. I saw Spencer Rattler out there. You know who you didn't see? Derek Carr. Derek Carr made it known he does not want to be here. Which begs the question, why did Mickey Loomis restructure his contract? He made it known. That's why it was so jaw-dropping to me when they restructured. Like, what they restructured this guy for? He does not want to be here. You heard rumors that he wanted to get traded. You heard these rumors. Now, Derek Carr has a no trade clause, so there's no reason for this to be a rumor because he has a no trade clause in his contract. But that's being leaked out for some strange reason, and it was never refuted by neither side. Why did we restructure? We fast forward to this past week when the Saints are having off-season training over there on airline. It started that Monday. The Friday before, there's a report that goes out from none other than Ian Rappaport and Adam Scheffler. You can't get no more credible than that. That Derek Carr has a shoulder injury and will require surgery, which will put him out for the entire season. Has anybody heard of Derek Carr injuring his shoulder at any point of last season? No. Yeah, he took that bump, he took that hit, but all reports after that, it was his hand, never his shoulder. Now he needs shoulder surgery and will be out for the season. Still haven't heard nothing. You still haven't heard nothing. So now you're questioning. Now you're sitting there wondering, why did you restructure the contract of a man that needs to have season-ending surgery? These are complete buffoons. That's my way of thinking. I'm like, why did you do this? And you knew that this guy needed surgery. Why did you do this? You pushed all that money back. Now, next season, he's going to count, I think, $60 million against the cap. Some number, like, I don't care what it is. It could be $6. It's still ridiculous. Why did you do this? You are hurting the team by this one move. You decimated this team with this one move, and you knew he was hurt. Well, then you get the report. It wasn't the New Orleans Saints that leaked the news about him needing surgery. It was Derek Carr. Derek Carr's team leaked that news. So the Saints didn't know. Mickey Loomis didn't know. In one of the rarest times in God's green earth that you're going to hear me actually defend Mickey Loomis. Mickey Loomis did not know that Derek Carr needed surgery. Neither did anybody else on the team. This is a dumpster fire. This team is a dumpster fire. It is so messed up. So now what do you do? And the point is, the whole point of this news from Derek Carr is so he can get out of New Orleans, so he can be traded. At this point, I don't care. Just cut him. Just let him go. Just take the hit. Just take the hit. It's over. It's done with. This is a relationship that cannot be healed. At this point, there's nothing you can do to unmess this up. And I'm trying to keep it PG here. There's nothing you can do to save it. And so, with all that being said, what do the Saints do next? How do the Saints approach this? All right, let's take Derek Carr. Let's put him to the side. That problem pretty much solved itself. There's nothing you can do about that. That is done. He does not want to be here, and trust me, the feeling is mutual over here on this end. And so, what do you do? Do you run with Spencer Rattler? Do you let him go out there and sharpen his skills? Me personally, I'm a big fan of that, and I was a fan of that before we even got to this point with Derek Carr. I felt that Spencer Rattler did not get a fair shake last season, and neither did Jake Haener, to be fair. He didn't get a fair shake last season. He went out there with practice squad players, no offensive line, and was just thrown to the wolves. What did you expect that dude to do as a rookie? And to be honest with you, he held his own. He did the best he could with what he was given. I have a ton of respect for him. And I think he can be a good quarterback. And I think under Kellen Moore, who has arguably had some really good quarterbacks under his wing in his last three stops, he had Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, and why am I blanking on his name? Justin Hurts, Jalen Hurts. You've had some really good quarterbacks. Now they were good without him. You know, Jalen Hurts went to a Super Bowl without Kellen Moore, so he really didn't need him. But Kellen Moore did give him that extra push to actually win it. Dak Prescott hasn't looked as good as he did under Kellen Moore, and Justin Herbert, I think he was hurt that year that Kellen Moore was there, so you really can't get a gauge on that. But with this young, fresh quarterback here, who is willing to learn, and from what I can see from him, is willing to be taught, I think he can actually do something. Now, do I feel he's the quarterback of the future? I can't really throw that out there with him. I'm not 100% confident to say that with my whole chest yet. But I think he's a good quarterback, decent quarterback that can get us some wins, that can actually make the Saints look like a credible team next season. Now, we'll play it by ear as far as going forward in the future. Now, in regards to all that, Saints own the number 9 pick. All reports are saying that Shadir Sanders, Deion Sanders' son, the quarterback for the Colorado Buffaloes, will fall to the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints the odds are favored to pick him. I'm of two minds of that. I'm straddling the fence on that. I like Shadir Sanders. I think he's a really good quarterback. I don't know why people hate on Shadir. I guess because of the nepotism factor of it all, that he's Deion Sanders' son and he was given everything. You still got to go out there and play. I don't care who your daddy is. You still got to go out there and play. And from what I've seen, the boy can play. He is really good. Really, I mean, accurate, got a pretty deep ball. He reads defenses. What people don't remember or don't realize or just don't want to know, you know who helped train Shadir Sanders as a quarterback? Tom Brady. Tom Brady. You don't get any greater than that. That's the GOAT. So if Tom Brady is teaching him, I think he can play quarterback in the NFL. I'm just throwing that out there. So if Shadir falls to the Saints at 9, sure, I would pick him. The reason I wouldn't pick him, and I felt this way prior to all this Derek Carr foolishness came into play, I don't see you picking Shadir Sanders at number 9 or any quarterback at that, for that matter, and sitting him behind Derek Carr. I didn't see that. No, that wasn't going to work for me, brother. I honestly, I did not see that happening. Now that this new wrinkle has happened in regards to Derek Carr not playing for the New Orleans Saints allegedly next season, sure, let's get him. Let's get him. Let him and him being Shadir Sanders and Spencer Rattler batter it out at camp. Let's see where we at with it. You know, Do I still feel good at putting Shadur Sanders out there with makeshift offensive line and some question marks at wide receiver? Yes, I am. But at the same time, I'm also skeptical of putting Spencer Rattler behind that offensive line and these makeshift receivers and whatnot. So I'm, you know, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't at this point. you But if we're trying to rebuild and build for the future and get a franchise quarterback, let's do it. I mean, if you're gonna do it, let's do it. Let's go in. Let's go all in. And I think Shadur Sanders is probably your best option. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in this draft. Yeah, Cam Ward is there. If you want to play around with Jackson Dart, sure. But with that being said, I, you want to get the best available, like I was saying earlier. Shadur Sanders is better than Jackson Dart. Now, if Shadur Sanders is not there at 9, if somebody gets him earlier, okay, then we get Jackson Dart. If he's there. So all I'm saying is don't pass up on something that is potentially better. Don't do it. All to prove a point. And that's what scares me in this draft. Anytime the Saints pick, it scares me because, as I stated ad nauseum earlier, Saints don't know how to pick in this draft. They do not in any draft. They are horrible in the draft. And I don't think it's Jeff Ireland's fault. Jeff Ireland knows talent. It's Mickey Loomis. You know that you've heard the stories because it's all coming out now. Sean Payton wanted to pick certain players. Sean Payton wanted to pick a quarterback of the future seasons ago, years ago. Mickey Loomis didn't. Mickey Loomis is the one who it was his call to pick Cesar Ruiz and Eric McCoy and all this other foolishness. Sean Payton wanted other players. I forgot who he listed. He dropped names. He told it all, and that's what helped him make the decision to leave the Saints, to quote unquote retire from the Saints, because he couldn't deal with Mickey Loomis and his foolishness. And so that's what scares me as a Saints fan heading into this draft. It's the Mickey factor, and it brings this conversation full circle. Mickey Loomis needs to go. Mickey Loomis is the problem. Mickey Loomis is the reason why the Saints are what they are. Him getting in front of that podium, chewing that gum like a horse, saying that we don't know football, even though every single decision he has made has crashed and burned over the past 2 to 3 years, and has the audacity to say we don't know what we're looking at. Now, I know what the results are. The results are it. But he would tell us, oh, we got to look past the results. What? What does that even mean? That is the dumbest statement. This dude needs to go. This dude needs to go. The Pelicans parted ways with David Griffin, rightfully so. And I don't think it's all David Griffin's fault what happened with the Pelicans. It was a lot of injuries there. But it was time to go. It was time to move on from David Griffin. If y'all were willing to move on from David Griffin, on the flip side of that, football-wise, and the Who Dat Nation, it's time to move on from Mickey Loomis. I don't care how much stock he got in the team. I don't care what Tom Benson left in his will. Gail Benson needs to go head on and make that move. Either buy him out or something, to whereas he needs to move on as general manager. He can still keep his little stake in the team, own whatever portion of the team he owns. That's fine. But as far as him making the day-to-day decisions as a general manager, he needs to be stopped, and it needs to end, because this team is suffering. The Who Dat Nation is suffering from this idiot. It gotta stop. All right, so that's my rant. That's what has transpired so far this offseason. And man, look, bro, I still have no hope. I have zero expectations going into this season with the Saints. I'm of the sense of mind, I don't care what happens, but and I didn't until this Derek Carr crap came into play because it was so infuriating, man. Like this dude, you that much of a baby? That you pulled this baby move? Oh, my shoulder. Really? I never heard of nothing like this. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And the Saints are ridiculous for trying to hold on to him because he showed you early on he didn't want to be here. Because in his defense, he told you in so many words. Now, I guess he did it in a passive aggressive way, but he needs to go. He made it known he didn't want to be here. Read the room, Mickey. Read the room. But instead of going with the move, getting rid of him, we're stuck with him. And now we're the laughing stock. Man, have you been watching NFL Network, ESPN, and all these other analysts just make the Saints seem like I don't know, man. It's ran like a snowball stand, bro. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing, honestly. But Mickey Loomis, he got to go. But anyways, I would love to know from the Who Dat Nation what's happening, man. How are y'all feeling about this off season so far? Are you encouraged moving forward with Kellen Moore as your head coach? Do you think anything will happen this upcoming season? Are you looking forward to the draft? What the Saints are going to pick, or who the Saints are going to pick, I should say? And is it going to be a quarterback of the future? Is it going to be a franchise player? Are we going to do what we normally do and pick a offensive lineman from Canada University or something like that nobody ever heard of at the number 9 pick? I would love to know your thoughts, man. Talk to me, Who Dat Nation. Talk me off of this cliff. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can search for this show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, YouTube, everybody. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Dome Patrol podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me as I went on a almost hour-long rant about the New Orleans Saints off-season so far. Oh, man, if anything happens in the draft worth discussing, I'll be back after the draft, and we'll talk about those picks and how it's going to help our team, if it will. If not, we're going on break. We're going to have a break for the Dome Patrol podcast because I'm tired of the negativity, man. I want to talk about something positive for the Saints, man. Give me something positive, please. I'm tired of all this negativity. It is really a bummer. It's killing me. But hopefully we can get this turned around very, very soon. But until that fateful day, I'm still going to be screaming to the top of my lungs, who dat?